Hello and welcome back to the ASMR Critique. My name is Joseph, and today I will be reviewing Kentucky Route Zero, the TV version, which I played on the Nintendo Switch. If the "Are video games art?" debate of the early 2000s had not been settled, Kentucky Route Zero would have put an exclamation mark on the argument by dropping the mic on the now and future potential of the art form, delivering an enchanting, one-of-a-kind interactive experience that blurs the lines between fine art and visual novel, and any and all preconceived genre definitions in between. Originally a Kickstarter game released in installments beginning in 2013, that has finally reached its completion in 2020. Kentucky Route Zero is less a video game and more an interactive existential thesis on life, death, and all of the messy stuff that happens in between. It is in parts a visual novel, theater piece, art installation, philosophical meditation, meta-commentary on the very nature of art and the inherent artistry of being, a series of finely tuned soundscapes, and, most importantly, it somehow manages to combine a series of studies on flawed characters with pointed commentary on modern civilization and mankind's at times tenuous relationship with the natural world, all without losing sight of the human elements at play and the inner worlds of its many characters. Truck driver Conway arrives at a gas station on the 65 freeway in search of an address to make a delivery of antique furniture. 5 Dogwood Drive. The attendant, a mysterious loner named Joseph, tells him he'll have to take the Zero to get there. Odd events happen all around, but rarely draw much scrutiny from the characters, letting the player understand contextually that this world operates on its own reality. Taking a page from the game's most immediately obvious influence, Gabriel Garcia Marquez's magical realist novel, 100 Years of Solitude, which I personally think is a great book and a very entertaining read. The lines between living and dead, past and present, magic and reality are as dreamlike and fluid as the ethereal fibers between the worlds. The roads topside are surely odd by our standards, but the deeper the players descend into the titular subterranean Zero, the weirder, wackier, and more introspective it all gets. In Kentucky Route Zero, there are no minor characters. An NPC manning a floating barge waxes poetic about the serenity that comes with being forgettable. A moment later, a patron just gassing up their boat talks about how their pity for a firefly saved their life when they fell asleep, drifting on a raft in a dark subterranean tunnel. Every one of the major characters is struggling with personal crises, and you, the player, get to interpret how you choose to deal with them, for better or for worse. The dialogue choices you make rarely affect the outcome of the story, but they can and do change your inner experience as a player. Something I learned through meditation was that in between receiving any stimulus and reacting to it, there's a brief period where, if you're perceptive enough, you can stop, study the workings of your inner mind, weighing your first impulse, and make the choice of either reacting with whatever comes to mind or being proactive, taking a second to consider your options, and then reacting. The game developers seem to have understood that people can either integrate or disintegrate. They can rise to personal challenges or give in to baser impulses. Some just want the comfort of a steady job and a place to sleep at night. Others travel in search of adventure. Some lament over the disappearing old world. A young child, Ezra, seeks his lost parents and lives with Julian, a 30-foot bald eagle whom he claims to be his brother. Some have cited David Lynch as an inspiration for the game, but I find any similarities to be on the surface level, as Lynch is more interested in atmosphere than characters. By contrast, Kentucky Route Zero rarely goes for shock value. Despite all the flights of fancy, its characters and themes are grounded, and its visuals are more often striking and pleasing than raw and haunting. Kentucky Route Zero was released in various chapters with art installations in between. These have been arranged in order for Kentucky Route Zero's TV version, which is the complete package. The Entertainment, a VR installation developed around the Oculus Rift, with echoes of Waiting for Godot and Charles Bukowski's Barfly, puts the player in the eyes of a silent bar patron, watching a tense, empty haunt descend into a heated discussion on usury that ends with a chilling indictment of our debt-based economic system. Chapter 3's The Hall of the Mountain King echoes Orson Welles' Citizen Kane and Charlie Kaufman's Synecdoche, New York, with its focus on a lone genius dwelling fitfully with his aging, imperfect creation, a grand design of a simulacrum that serves as little more than a sad testament to a failed experiment, an empty life, and unrequited love. Tragedy, abandonment, and death are major themes in Kentucky Route Zero, but to simply say that Kentucky Route Zero is art with a conscience and leave it at that is to do it a disservice. You, the player, choose most dialogue options, and your choices do shape your playthrough, often in surprising and rewarding ways. Characters can connect deeply, or miss finding the right dots and fall into self-pity. A suffering character may have their spirits lifted by a sympathetic soul, only to have the opportunity to return the favor later on. Replayability is therefore built into the title, and this is the first game I've played in ages where I've been not just curious, but eager to dive into the experience again, just to see what magic lies behind alternate dialogue options. With this episodic title, writer and director Jake Elliott and developer Cardboard Computer wanted it all, to have their proverbial cake and eat it too. This strong of an impulse to create on such an ambitious scope, and yet keep the focus so intimate, very often translates into a recipe for disaster for any storyteller, let alone an indie game developer. But Kentucky Route Zero is meticulously and lovingly crafted, and it's clear that it has been polished by perfectionists, rather than providing the regular sense of challenge one might normally expect from a video game. That is, the challenge of overcoming obstacles, puzzle solving, precision and reaction time, etc. Kentucky Route Zero is challenging in the sense that a truly great work of art is challenging. It pushes at the very boundaries of the art form and asks you to follow along with it. It tantalizes in its slow unfolding of information with flashbacks and new revelations, recontextualizing prior knowledge and expanding central themes. And did I mention that the game is both funny and absurd in its self-awareness? There's the Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces, an organization that not only has a floor filled with nothing but bears, but takes old abandoned places and finds new uses for them. One amazing installation has you using an in-game landline telephone to navigate a guide to a vast and strange underground space called the Echo River. Kentucky Route Zero does interesting things with time. There are multiple points where you will realize that your actions as a player are occurring in the past tense. That is, they are being watched in the future by chattering characters, transcribing or studying video footage. The first instance of this occurs in a living museum, where two protagonists reconstruct their own childhoods from memories of old structures, adding further temporal layers to the proceedings. Special mention must be made of Ben Babbitt's exceptional soundtrack, which is layered and clearly aided and mixed by a master of 80s analog electronics. The ambient score and sound textures are sometimes contrasted with folk and gospel music, stirring show-stopping performances, and alternately zen and cacophonous soundscapes, adorning all manner of spaces, depending on the moods and tones at work in each scene. Kentucky Route Zero boldly features analog, as opposed to digital, art and textures. Playing its delicately crafted soundscapes will attune your ears to idling engines, birdsong, static, warbled magnetic tape, raindrops both soft and heavy, and other wonders I'd rather leave unspoiled. Navigating the titular Route Zero is like turning a combination lock. The game dares you to dig deeper in order to unlock its Easter eggs, character bits, and world building, and the writing's so good, it's hard to resist. Character models are devoid of faces, but the mise-en-scène is so highly stylized, and the philosophical discussions so involving, you'll hardly notice. Dialogue and body language convey the meaning more than adequately. I can't get over the writing in this game. There are exchanges or even individual lines of dialogue in Kentucky Route Zero that show more depth and substance than a 60-plus hour AAA game might muster during its entire runtime. Kentucky Route Zero sometimes feels like a choose-your-own-adventure book, except instead of choosing how the story progresses, you choose how the characters internalize the story, environment, and their interactions. If you're anything like me and love carefully constructed art, that is both enlightening and entertaining, haunting and hopeful, melancholy and magical, perceptive and pointed, you might really fall in love with the existential wackiness of Kentucky Route Zero. I highly recommend this game. It is one of the best games I have played in a long time, possibly years. And it's the first game I've played this year that gives me hope for the future potential of the art form, because it is rather obtuse at times. I can't wholeheartedly recommend it to everyone, but there's a certain type of person who, will fall completely and madly in love with this game. I give Kentucky Route Zero a 9.8 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to this channel to help me grow it. I really do love making this content, but if this channel doesn't start to pick up in a bit, I may just have to do something else. Thank you so much, and please take care of yourselves and have a great rest of your day.